trusted partner. I remember Prime Minister Modi using this phrase in Rome in 2021 at the G20 meeting, where he offered to the world our friendship and India as an important element of their supply chains, as an honest, transparent, rules-based trading partner, and as a partner they could trust. And that trusted partner is what the world today is looking for. And India is seeing the fruits of that. We had the highest ever exports last year, 21-22, $675 billion worth of exports in a year, with services at $254 billion, all-time high. Merchandise exports at $422 billion, all-time high. And collectively, we were able to demonstrate to the world that despite COVID, India and Indian businesses can do wonders. And therefore, today we have a situation, friends, where we did the fastest ever FTA in the history of the world. 88 days, start to finish. The UAE-India Comprehensive Economic Partnership was settled, finalized and signed from launch to finish. Australia technically took a little longer. We launched in September 21, signed on 2nd April. But if you look back, between September and December 21, first we had a COVID wave, then Australia had COVID. They had locked down their entire country. There was a compulsory 14-day quarantine in Australia. Then Christmas came in. So till December, we didn't have a single meeting to further the India-Australia FTA. Asia, of course, has its own dynamics. It's a very complicated region. We have economic growth in Asia. I think the last IMF report mentioned that almost 50% of global growth is going to come out of Asia in 2023, as against only 10% coming from the developed world of Europe and the US. We have economies which are both democracies, and we have economies which are non-transparent, non-rule based on our northern borders. We have significant conflicts across Asia. The India-China problem, the India-Pakistan problem. Russia, of course, likes to call itself a European nation, even though I think most of their territories are almost a part of the Asian continental belt. And over the years, we started off as a non-aligned country, probably leaned closer or leaned more on the socialist thinking and the left of the center thinking over the years. Post-91, we tried to evolve as a market-based economy, but it always looked to be a half-baked effort until in the last decade or so, we've been seeing the country wanting to internationalize our work, engage with technology, engage with modern way of working. And I think today, India is clearly recognized as the country of the decade, if not the country of the 21st century. And I hope that's the message the Asia Economic Dialogue will take to the rest of the world. In India, the business world and the economists. Be proud about your achievements. Be proud that we have strong macroeconomic fundamentals. Be proud about the reform done over the last few years, which have created a strong foundation on which we believe India is not only today the world's fastest growing large economy, we will continue to be the fastest growing large economy, not for the rest of the decade, but for many, many decades to come. India has awakened. India has arisen. India today works with the rest of the world from a position of strength. And India today is recognized the world over as the trusted Asian partner to have, as the country and the leader. You read every day, the world looking up to the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. His comment, this is not an era of war, resonates with the rest of the world. They hope he will be able to find a solution to the problems that the world is facing currently. And I do believe it's the power of 1.4 billion Indians behind him, which today gives him the ability to work with the world, to showcase India's strengths to the rest of the world. I thank all of you for your good work, which has enabled Prime Minister Modi today to take India to that level, which will make us the country to watch out for not 1 decade, not 2 decades, but hopefully for the 21st century. Thank you. What had been discussed, or what was being offered to India as a part of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, where we had China, we had the 10 ASEAN countries, we had New Zealand and Australia, and we had Japan and Korea. So it was a group of 15 countries plus India. We were the 16th. And we were in some ways an outlier. Not only because of our geopolitical tensions with China, but also because we already had trading arrangements or a free trade agreement with the 10 ASEAN countries, with Japan and Korea, so 12 in the box. Australia, we had been engaged for a long time until it got aborted because they said that if we are doing RCEP, we don't need to have a separate FTA. And New Zealand is so far off and remote that we only do some $300 million worth of bilateral trade with New Zealand. And their only interest is in dairy, and our big interest is in stopping dairy from there. I engage with stakeholders all over the country. I promise you, except for a handful, and in that handful, I can't even remember whether there was a handful who said we should join RCEP. And while, of course, the entire arrangements that were sought to be done between China and India were against India's national interest, it would have actually been the death knell of all manufacturing in India. It would have completely killed any manufacturing capabilities that we had or we sought to create in the years to come. And my own experience is that China blocks the doors for imports from India through a variety of measures, non-tariff most of them. And we in India have over the years become weaker and started enjoying the low-cost, low-quality goods. It's somewhat like a drug, not drug as in medicine, like opium, that over the years we have made our own set of people so much used to low-cost, even though substandard products, that in the process we have hurt India, we have hurt India's interests. What used to be a bilateral trade, if Anup may remember better than me, of only $2 billion 20 years ago, where we used to have a trade deficit of under $1 billion 16, 17 years ago. We have landed up mortgaging India's interests to China. And I know between 2004 and 14, I don't want to politicize the issue, but in that period, our trade deficit with China increased from just about $1 billion, $1.5 billion to $48 billion. And we almost had an open sesame. We allowed everything to come in from China. Whereas they stopped us every product from India through legitimate or non-legitimate reasons. Wherever we tried to stop any Chinese products, we had two problems. We had the Indian business persons who would lobby and not allow us to do that, or we had a situation where Indian manufacturing could not compete because their cost of production had no reference or relevance to their cost of transfer of goods to India. And therefore, it was music to my ears when Prime Minister Modi decided to not join RCEP on 4th of November 2019. Anup was in that room with me that day. But I tell you, across the country, on a subject which is extremely relevant and contemporary. Of course, I've been to the Pune International Center for a dialogue or an interaction many years ago. I don't know whether it was before I became a minister or after I became a minister, but around that time. So I'm coming after many years, and I'm also coming after interacting with students at the Flame University. So it's been a very, very enjoyable morning for me, and I'm really looking forward to engaging with you on what's happening in the geopolitical space and how it has impacted the economies of our region. I think a lot is known to all of us. The world is in turmoil. Soon after the pandemic, we landed up with the conflict in Ukraine. Russia-Ukraine conflict has had a severe impact on the developed world more than the developing countries. And in two particular aspects, it has had a devastating effect across the world for both developing and developed countries. That's food security and energy security. And the consequential impact it has had on inflation, the interest rate movement, slowing growth, the whole cycle which we have seen happen in the past, which fortunately we had almost overcome very quickly after COVID. But this conflict has brought us back, or in fact brought us even worse off than we were pre-COVID.